Welcome to Moments with Marianne. This is your host, Marianne Pastana, and I am so excited to be celebrating 10 years of meaningful conversations with you. As we step into our new primetime hour, it's such an honor to share this exciting new chapter with you. So whether you're starting your day out, headed to work, or listening from wherever you are, this hour is designed to bring you thoughtful dialogue, fresh insight, and inspiring stories so you can make every moment count. So thank you for being here with me today, and let's dive in. We're here today with special guest Dick Larson, who's here to share with us the reappearance of Christ and the masters of wisdom. In a world seeking hope and change, could a new perspective transform us all? Well, today's guest is here to share with us just that. Dick Larson is a counselor with a background in education who addresses the issues of meditation and practical spirituality. He co-hosted a radio program and produced and hosted a series of public access television shows that aired around the nation. So welcome to the show, Dick Larson.
Thank you, Marianne. Great to be here.
Well, what an honor it is to have you here and to talk about this book. Can you share with us your background and what even got you interested in Krem's work?
I grew up in Minnesota. I grew up a Christian and loved my church, loved the people in my church. And then, I graduated from high school and graduated from college, and life got a hold of me. And I just kind of got away from it. Then I saw Benjamin Creme, spelled C-R-E-M-E. Benjamin Creme is a Scotsman who lived in London for most of his life. And at one point in the 70s, he was asked if he would travel the world to give out some information. Now, Benjamin Creme worked closely with one of the masters of wisdom. They're the senior members of our spiritual kingdom, which I'll explain in a moment. He was in close contact with this master of wisdom who gave him the information to give out and provided him with extraordinary information. He traveled the world for over 40 years, got no pay, just did it as a volunteer, free of charge. And every year he would come to New York and give a lecture. Then he would come to Los Angeles and give a lecture. He'd go to San Francisco and give a lecture. Then he'd go over to Japan, give a lecture in Tokyo, and so on. He'd go around the world, Geneva, and so on. And a friend of mine who knew about him said, "You should go check this guy out when he comes to Los Angeles." So I did. I went to his lecture, and I heard a lot of wonderful information, and I heard a lot of information I didn't understand. It went right over my head. But I was curious because what I did understand made so much sense to me. So I started reading his magazine. He is the publisher and editor of a worldwide magazine called Share, S-H-A-R-E, International. And then I started reading his books. He's got 17 books on Amazon.com, and you can download 4 of them free of charge, and I'll tell your listeners where to go to do that in a little bit. So I read some of his books, and it just all made such sense to me. What it did, it took me from the spirituality of my Christian religion ahead into more spirituality, which I was eager to learn. So that got me interested, and I thought, you know what? This is great information for other people to know about. So I became a volunteer for Share International. There are volunteers all around the world who give out this information that Benjamin Creme gave out. Benjamin Creme passed away about 10 years ago in his 90s, but we're carrying on giving out this information. Here's what he taught. He taught something called the ageless wisdom. The ageless wisdom, Marianne, is an ancient philosophy, but it's a living philosophy about life today. And it's as old as humanity. It's been passed down verbally, of course, over the eons. And then finally, some teachers put some stuff into writing about the ageless wisdom. The two most recent people to teach the ageless wisdom is a woman named Alice A. Bailey, who wrote about 20 books in the 1930s and 40s. Some of them are quite challenging to read, I found. And then Benjamin Creme, who I met about over 30 years ago. And so I've been giving out this information. Benjamin Creme is the latest revealer of the ageless wisdom teachings and brings it current, brings it up to date for us today. And that's why it made so much sense to me. Well, I decided to start giving out this information. And so that's what I've been doing. I've been lecturing here in the Los Angeles area and elsewhere. And I've been doing radio interviews nationally and internationally for, 20, 25 years now. And giving out this information. Here's what it is. It teaches us about life. It is so basic. It's not religious. It's such basic spiritual information that its basic truths are said to underlie all of the world's major religions. And so I found it fascinating because it goes beyond my religion and tells me things my religion didn't teach me. For example, what's the nature of the soul? Well, the nature of the soul is to serve. That's what the ageless wisdom says. Something very important I want to say to your listeners. My source of information is the ageless wisdom teachings, primarily through Benjamin Creme, who I knew very, very well. I worked with him a lot over 30 years. And I don't want your listeners to believe anything I have to say. Please don't believe me. That would be blind belief, and I can't recommend that to anybody. I'm not here to convince you to agree with what I have to say or that what I have to say is true. Most of what I have to say is prophecy, so you can't prove that. So I can prove very little of what I have to say to you, except what you experience through your own direct experience in your life. And so please don't think that I'm here to get you to believe what I say. Just try to keep an open mind and just hear what I have to say and kind of ponder on it over the next, couple of days, and don't try to not disagree or agree with it, and just kind of let it sit there, So that's what we're going to talk about. He talked about the ageless wisdom teachings, and he talked about the fact that about every 2,000 years, God sends us a great teacher. Now, you may not call it God, whatever you want to call it, all the intelligence in the universe, all the love in the universe. God has many names, and we are sent a great teacher about every 2,000 years, which coincides with the changing of the ages, which I'll be happy to explain. It's real. It's astronomy, not astrology. And every 2,000 years. So 2,000 years ago, we were actually blessed to get two teachers. We got the Buddha, who taught the wisdom of God. We got Jesus, who taught the love of God. And now it's time for the teacher for our time. The masters of wisdom say that we are ready. We have matured enough. We have evolved enough that we can take in more teaching now. And so Maitreya is the name of this teacher, Maitreya. It's Sanskrit. It's a Sanskrit name. It means the happy one, the one who brings joy. He's the teacher for this age, the age of Aquarius. He'll be with us on the planet in a physical body for the next 2,000 years, giving out his teachings. He'll never tell us to do anything or make us do anything. Our free will is sacred. So we just hear what he has to say and then decide if it's worth doing or worth pursuing or not. And everybody has to make their own personal decision. So he is here for the next age, and he is here to teach God's will. So all of us who have been looking for God's will so we know what to do, we finally get to find out what God's will is and the purpose behind that will. That's what he comes to teach us. He comes to teach us more than that, though. He comes to teach us who we really are. Self-awareness is one of the huge goals for humanity next, who we are. So that's kind of what my background is and how I got involved in this. and what we're talking about.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And so, and I've heard people talk about that we're in the age of Aquarius now. I'm so glad that you
Yes,
brought that up. And it comes with, I think we're going to be in this age for another 2,000 years, right?
2,250 years,
My goodness. That's
roughly.
roughly, give or take a couple years,
Give and
right?
take a couple hundred years, yeah.
so, so why is this world teacher here now?
Yeah. Um, well, part of it is because of what I said. We're ready to learn more. We've matured enough and we're eager. A lot of people are real eager to know more about the spiritual aspect of life on planet Earth. Um, let's talk about the age of Aquarius for just a minute. Our planet and our solar system, of course, are surrounded by these 12 huge major constellations that we call the zodiac. And they surround our solar system. And periodically, our solar system and consequently planet Earth comes into alignment with each of these great constellations one at a time. And they're not spaced exactly equally apart, so it can vary from every 2,000 to every 2,500 years, something like that. So, what happens when we come into alignment with one of these great constellations? They all have different energies, primary energies. Those energies pour into planet Earth and into our lives. It's like a window is opened to that constellation's energies. Well, the last 2,000 years, we have been in the age of Pisces. And of course, the symbol for Pisces is the fish. Well, Jesus was the teacher who came to inaugurate the age of Pisces. And he knew what he was doing. He knew that was his job. And there's a lot of symbols in the Christian Bible for fish. He fed the crowd with fish. I'll make you fishers of men, and so on. There's two symbols for Christianity: the cross and the fish. Most Christians can't tell you why the fish, but it's because he was the teacher for the age of Pisces. Okay, we were receiving for the last 2,000 years these tremendous, an influx of these tremendous energies from Pisces. The two primary energies, Marianne, are dedication to an ideal and individuality. So over the last 2,000 years, man has come out of the herd. We now stand on our own as powerful individuals. And it was dedication to the ideal of freedom that saved the world in World War I and World War II. So Pisces has done its job. Well, in 1625, we started moving away from the constellation of Pisces, out of its influence. And in 1675, we started moving into the influence of the next constellation. It goes backwards from astrology, Aquarius. Now, astronomers know all about this. If you were to talk to an astronomer, he would know exactly what you're talking about, but he would say, we call this the precession of the equinox. That's what they call it. So in 1675, we started moving into the influence of Aquarius, which has totally different energies. The primary energies of Aquarius, which are now pounding our planet and our life, are cooperation and synthesis. Synthesis and cooperation. So they are designed to help us with our evolution. Now we're going to take the powerful individuals built under Pisces and under Aquarius, we're going to have them work together. They're going to learn how to cooperate. So Aquarian energy supports group action. We're receiving now the energies of Pisces, which are waning, they're going out, they're weakening significantly, and we're receiving the energies of Aquarius, which are waxing. They're coming in. Well, here's the deal, Marianne. Whenever you have the powerful energies of two constellations crisscrossing each other, like we're receiving right now, you have chaos on the planet. Well, we have chaos, don't we? Yeah, that's the primary reason for the problems we have now on this planet. The The older conservatives on the planet love the old ways. They don't want anything to change. They want to hang on to it, especially the conservatives in religion and finance and government. Don't want anything to change. The younger people, the more progressive people, see the need for change. I mean, they can't wait for change. They see we need changes. And here's why. With the energies of Pisces being withdrawn, all the great institutions that we have that have served us for the last 2,000 years, finance, education, healthcare, government, the arts, you can go through all of them. They don't work anymore. We can throw money at them, it doesn't fix them. They don't work anymore because there's no energy behind them. All the energy has left and they are collapsing. And that's exactly what they should be doing. Now, it causes chaos. But what needs to happen now is we take the new energies, synthesis and cooperation, and working together cooperatively, we rebuild these institutions of government and religion and education and healthcare and so on. We rebuild them with the cooperative energies of Aquarius, and we create modified new institutions which will serve humanity for the next 2,000 years. For example, Benjamin Crem's master told Benjamin Creme that even the president of the United States would no longer be one person. It would be a panel of wise people, because Aquarian energy supports group. It doesn't support these individuals, these little dictators who are out there now. Their time is over. They just don't know it yet. That's what's coming. We're going to learn how to work together. They're not going to force us to do anything because we have free will and it's sacred. But they will make suggestions. They're teachers, and that's what they're going to do. Maitreya doesn't come alone. He comes with other masters of wisdom. I could talk about who the masters are.
I would love that. And I'd love for you to share a little bit also more about Maitreya. You
Sure.
say he's here now. Is this a person we can go meet and have coffee with? I mean, what does it look like?
Well, eventually we might be able to. Maitreya is in a male body. The masters, these are people that we know as Buddha, Krishna, Jesus, Confucius. The Joan of Arc is one of the great masters now. Mary, the mother of Jesus, is one of the great masters. St. John, Paul, Ringo. No, not Ringo. I'm just kidding. But John and Paul are great masters now. These are great beings whose job is to guide humanity unseen behind the scenes. They are the inspiration for all of humanity's great advances over the eons. They don't live in some amorphous place called heaven. They actually live in the mountain and desert regions of the world, mostly unseen. They try to make it so they don't interrupt our life. But they're in those mountain and desert regions of the world because they don't have to deal with pollution, noise pollution, air pollution, all that stuff. They're in bodies that will live hundreds and hundreds of years, just like some people did in the days of the Old Testament and the Bible. And that's their job. They volunteer to help humanity evolve behind the scenes. Well, there are 63 of these great beings, according to the Ageless Wisdom. I'm not asking anybody to believe this. There are 63 of these great beings in our spiritual kingdom now. They're the senior members of our spiritual kingdom. And they each have an area of responsibility that they work in as assigned by their leader. Their leader is Maitreya. Maitreya and Buddha, they're all humans. They're all from humanity. Maitreya and the Buddha were the first two human beings to, over thousands of lifetimes, rebirth is real, reincarnation, according to the Ageless Wisdom, and it makes sense. Over thousands of lifetimes, they become perfect human beings. They have no more lessons that they can learn from planet Earth. So they don't need a body anymore. So they become permanent consciousness, permanent spirits, and mostly love. And so they were the first two to graduate from humanity to the spiritual kingdom, the Buddha and Jesus, Buddha and Maitreya. They're great friends. They work together all the time. They have different jobs. Maitreya is the most evolved of the masters of wisdom. He works very closely with the others, especially Jesus. They work very, very closely. Now, Maitreya, he realized he had to come, and it was his job to come in a physical body. Well, he made his own body. It took several years, Marianne, several years to make this body, and it's indestructible. He doesn't need to eat or sleep. He can't be killed. The masters work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They never sleep. They constantly work. He made this body. Then he came down. He was in the Himalayas. He came down from the Himalayas into Pakistan, and he kind of test drove that body. He walked around and he met people, and he just wanted to make sure it worked like it was supposed to work, because he can embody the love of God in his body. I mean, I can't even imagine that. But anyway, he wanted to make sure he could shake your hand and not zap you to death, you know? Well, he figured out it worked just like he hoped. So then he flew from Pakistan to London, which is his base of operations. He flew there to fulfill the prophecy that he would come out of the clouds. He flew on July 19th, 1977. Now, the masters don't miss a trick. They know all about numerology. Well, 7 of 77, that's 777. 7 is a very sacred number, and I can explain why. But 7 is a very sacred number, and that's 3 sevens, which tells me it's the opposite of 666. So he flew on July 1977. The 1 and the 9 in the decimal system are the first and the last, the Alpha and the Omega. He is the Alpha and the Omega, and he's now living on the outskirts of London, in the Asian community of London. As a man, a lot of people know him. Only a few know who he really is. And he's waiting for the best time to come forward to humanity openly on radio and television, hooked up by the satellites. That's what they're up there for. They're not up there for World Cup soccer. They're up there for this event, which will be a huge event. Now, he'll probably first come out and as he is now, walk amongst people, talk to people, give out some of his teachings, and so on. But eventually, he is going to appear to all of humanity at once on radio and television. All eyes will see, and all ears will hear. And then he will declare, he says it'll be his day of declaration. He will declare who he is. Now, he will do that when humanity asks him, who are you really? Who are you really? So he's been doing television interviews. I have not seen one. And he's been doing television interviews, sometimes as part of a group and sometimes alone. He doesn't use his real name, Maitreya. I don't know what names he uses. But he gives out his teachings, which have to do with justice, freedom, equality, sharing, and so on. And so he's been on TV for, I want to say 20 years. He did interviews on major television stations around the world. He did one in the US, he did one in the UK, and so on. So eventually, people are hearing about Maitreya because we're talking about it all the time. And people are going to want to know, who are you really? Who are you? Are you who they say you are? And then he will declare on the day of declaration, openly to humanity, he will declare that he is here and he is the teacher for the age of Aquarius. And he has some suggestions to make about how we can improve life on this planet and live more like God's will wants us to. So that's who Maitreya is, and that's who the Masters of Wisdom are.
So what are some of the changes in our lives that Maitreya will inspire?
Well, he comes to teach several things. His first 4 priorities, just to show you, he comes as a modern man to deal with modern problems. So the ideas that you have of a spiritual teacher 2,000 years ago or 4,000 years ago, you can just eliminate those, because he comes as a modern man to solve modern problems, to help us solve modern problems. That's the law of karma in the East. Here we call it the law of cause and effect. Scientists call it the law of action and reaction. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. We made the mess, so we have to clean it up. So he will teach us how to do that. Some of us will respond right away, some of us won't, to get to work, cleaning up life on this planet. So he comes to teach us who we are. He says, you have forgotten who you are. You are not humans. This is my words, not his. We're not humans having spiritual experiences. We're spirits having a human experience. And we need to recognize who we really are in order to start acting like who we really are. More and more, as we realize we're spiritual beings, we can start to act like spiritual beings. So he comes to teach us that self-realization, self-awareness of who we really are and who our neighbors really are. You know, they're sacred too. We don't all act perfectly sacred because we're not there yet. We're still working on it. We're not perfected human beings yet. We will all make it there, Marianne. We will all become masters. We'll become perfect human beings who don't need a body anymore. And then we'll become a master of wisdom. And there are seven paths that you can take once you become a master of the wisdom. And one of those paths is the path of earth service. And thank goodness 63 masters have decided they want to be on that path of earth service. So they are the inspiration for us behind the scenes. So Maitreya will teach self-realization. His first 4 priorities: food for everybody, shelter for everybody, healthcare for everybody, and education for everybody as human rights, free of charge. And the 5th one is to clean up the planet, pollution. So those are his first 5 priorities, real basic stuff. You can't wonder who God is if you don't have enough to eat. You worry about how you're going to get enough to eat. So we have to take care of those things first, obviously. And then we can start working on other aspects of our lives. Some people are ready for that and some people aren't. So for those of us who are ready to advance more spiritually, he said, the path to spiritual growth is meditation and prayer and service. Service. Service is what the whole spiritual kingdom is about. God serves us. God created us. God serves us by keeping us going. You know, he just thinks about us and we're still here. If he stopped thinking about us, we'd disappear. So God is serving us. Then the masters trying to work out God's plan, they're serving us behind the scenes to inspire us to growth and consciousness. You know, the source of consciousness is the soul. And we all stand on different rungs of this ladder of evolution, although we've had thousands of lifetimes. You know, once you start to realize, this is the good news, once you start to realize that you might be a living soul, you are on the last few lifetimes of this path of earth existence, into becoming a perfect human being. You might have 6, 7, 12 lifetimes left. That's about it. So all of a sudden our evolution develops and grows very, very quickly. We're all at a different stage of that. That's what makes the world go round. We're not all the same. We're all different. And so, you know, the masters were us. This is something really important for you to hear. The masters were us. They were human beings like us through thousands of lifetimes. They have lived through everything we have lived through. They have killed people. They've been killed. They've deserted people. They've been deserted. They've been grandparents. They've been no parents at all. They've been married. They've been not married. You know, they've had all the experiences you can have as a human being. That's why they don't judge us, Marianne. They just love us. Love is their core, and the evidence of the love is their service. And they just love us. They understand us completely. They don't criticize us. They understand what we're going through, and they're trying to help us go through it. So these masters of wisdom, there are, let me think, there are 14 masters on the planet right now in physical bodies, and they're in major cities of the world. There's one in Rome, there's one in Darjeeling, there's one in, I think, Geneva, there's one in Moscow, there's one in Tokyo, there's one in London. The one in London is Maitreya. There's one in New York. There's one in the San Bernardino Mountains out here in California. There are 14 masters on the planet right now. The one in Rome is the Master Jesus. The Master Jesus is back. And he, like I said, he works very, very closely with Maitreya, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But the Master Jesus is back. He is here. My understanding is that he is here to get the Christian church back on track from his original teachings. The Christian church is supposed to teach and heal. It doesn't do a very good job of teaching, and it doesn't do almost any healing at all. So he is going to change that. There'll be no more popes. Jesus will be at the head of the Christian church worldwide for the next probably 2,000 years, giving out his teachings and helping the church get on track. Now, here's the thing. All of the major religions have lost their way. They've all been filled with all this man-made dogma, these rules that don't have anything to do with how and why the people that started that religion did. And so there will be a master working with every one of the major religions to get them back on track. There'll be a master in every field of humanity. There'll be a master giving advice and making suggestions in government, be a master in healthcare, be a master in education, probably more than one in education. There'll be a master in every aspect of life, government, finance, every aspect. And they will be teaching us, and we can either follow their suggestions or not. We have free will. I'll tell you why free will is sacred, because it's how we learn and grow. We learn and grow from making a choice. The goal isn't to choose correctly every time. The goal is to always learn from our choice. You can learn from a wise choice. You can learn from a poor choice. So free will is sacred because it allows us to grow. That's our job. Learn and grow, learn and grow, learn and grow. Meditate and serve. Now, meditation is not for everybody, but I'll tell you something. You won't know it till you try it. So my suggestion is try a real simple little, 15-minute meditation every day where you focus right between the eyebrows at that chakra right there called the Ajna Center, AJNA. You just focus there, and how you do that is you think. You don't say it out loud. You think Om, O-M, Om, Om. The O sets up a vibration in your heart center and in your throat center. The M, if you think, you make that noise, you'll feel your head buzz. That's because it sets up the vibration in the Ajna Center between the eyebrows and the crown center at the top of the head. So you think Om to bring your attention to the Ajna Center. It's the traffic cop for the energy, the spiritual energies. It knows which chakras need energy and what energy they need. So you just start there, and the Ajna Center will take care of the rest of it. You just focus at your Ajna Center for 15 minutes. And when your attention drops, which it will, then you just think Om a couple times. It'll bring it right back. And you'll know your attention dropped because your head will drop down, or your eyes will be, although they're closed, they'll be looking at the floor. And then you just bring your eyes back up, bring your head back up, think Om a couple times. And that's it. Simple 15-minute meditation once a day. Very simple to do. I suggest you try it. Here's the thing about meditation. You won't know if it's having an effect before others do. Others will see a change eventually. They'll say, there's something about you that's different. I really like it. I don't know what it is, but it'll be like that. So you just meditate, with the promise from the masters that you will expand your spiritual growth. And prayer, of course, is very important. Don't just pray for things. Pray in gratitude, thanking for things and people and health and so on. So that's the Those are the keys to spiritual growth. The masters will teach us things like that, real basic stuff. And I'll tell you, it is a great time to be alive, because when these masters come forward, Maitreya comes forward, nobody's ever met or known anybody with the power and the holiness of a Maitreya, the world teacher. We've never been around anybody like that. I mean, when he sends you love, you're just so happy. I've had that happen to me. You're just so happy. You feel like your feet aren't even touching the ground anymore. And you don't know why you're happy. There's no reason to be that happy. But all of a sudden, you're just filled with joy. Joy comes from the soul. And so people are going to be amazed when they start to see changes. Benjamin Creme said his master told him that within 2 years of Maitreya coming forward, everybody on the planet will be fed. There'll be no more starvation. See, we have a surplus of food right now, about 14% per capita surplus, but it's sitting in storage bins in the Western world until we get the right price for it. And if we don't get the right price for it, it rots. And if we do send it somewhere, half the time these little dictators pop up and take it all. So distribution is the problem with food. Plans are being made at the inspiration of the masters behind the scenes on how to get this food and all the goods of the earth distributed so that no one wants anymore. They won't have all their wants met, but they'll have all their needs met. And there's a plan to do that through the United Nations.
So, what positive events are happening that give us hope?
Yeah. Well, it started several years ago when the Berlin Wall came down. No leader said, okay, stop what you're doing. It just happened. People just got out their picks and their axes, and they went at that wall and started tearing it down. And all the guards and military police and so on never did a thing. They didn't shoot anybody, which they've been doing for 40 years. They didn't shoot anybody. They didn't harm anybody. They just let them tear the wall down. And all of a sudden, people were walking through holes in the wall, hugging their brothers on the other side of the wall. I mean, nobody knew that was going to happen, ever. Maitreya predicted it. He also predicted that Nelson Mandela would be set free. Nelson Mandela was in prison in South Africa for 19 years, so long that people even forgot he was alive. And South Africa had this terrible apartheid system where the whites ruled over the minority whites ruled over the majority black people, the African Americans there. And Nelson Mandela said, God told me to write a letter to President de Klerk and ask him to set me free. And Mandela kind of laughed at that because he said, I can't even get the attention of the head of the prison, much less the head of South Africa. But he wrote the letter. They sent it off. De Klerk got the letter and said, God told me to set Nelson Mandela free and to end apartheid. And he did. De Klerk set Nelson Mandela free. He ended apartheid in South Africa, and Nelson Mandela was elected president of South Africa, a black man, president of South Africa. Well, according to Benjamin Creme's master, it wasn't God, it was Maitreya that told them that. And so Nelson Mandela, this is something that nobody ever thought. They all thought he'd die in prison. Was not only set free, but became president of South Africa. Now, if that's not a miracle, I don't know what it is. Other miracles. There are statues of Mary and Jesus that bleed, either real blood, mostly real blood. They've tested it, and it's real human blood. It just doesn't have the platelets, so it doesn't clot. But it often comes out of Mary's hands, the statue's hands, or the eyes of Mary. And people who have touched this blood have been healed. A lot of people have been healed by this. You see these articles all over the place, especially over the last 25, 30 years. Those miracles, and my information is, are are being produced by the master who was Mary, the mother of Jesus. Those are miracles. In Florida, there's a huge office building about 6 stories high that was glass. And all of a sudden, right before Christmas, on the front of that glass building appeared an image of Mary holding the baby Jesus in color on the glass, 4 stories tall, out of nowhere. Well, the word got out about this, and people were coming from everywhere. There was traffic backed up 6-7 miles to get into the little parking lot of this office building so that people could, say their prayers, light their candles, whatever they wanted to do. They had to have special traffic police and everything set up. That was on CNN. That was on everything. And to my knowledge, it's still there, still on the site of that building. Right before Christmas is when it was put there. That was again done by the master that was Mary. There are so many miracles, people being healed. Let's see, what else? Maitreya predicted that at the height of her power and influence, that the head of the woman who was the head of England, that she would be kicked out of office, and nobody believed it when we published it to the news media. But sure enough, it happened. Margaret Thatcher, was basically thrown out of office. Nobody figured that would happen. There are lots of little miracles happening too, like the bleeding statues and paintings that ooze 100% virgin olive oil, sacred paintings, and the oil has healed people. And nobody can explain it. They x-ray these statues, they x-ray the paintings. They can't find the source of it. Well, the source is the masters. They're making these miracles happen. Why are they making these happen? Oh, here's a big one. Up in the sky, in the clouds, people will look up and they'll see a cloud shape. Maybe they're on an airplane, maybe they're on the ground. They will see a cloud shape with the face of Christ or the body of Christ in the clouds. And it's clear as day, and they take pictures. You go on the internet and you just Google Christ in the clouds, and you'll get so many pictures you can't believe it. And those are all miracles made by Jesus. And so there have been all these miracles. The point of these miracles is to give us hope. And that's the point of my talk. You are not going to believe what's going to happen, you guys, in the next 3, 5, 10 years. If you're in reasonable health, you're going to see amazing changes for the good on our planet. We're going to be dealing with a lot of these problems in new and creative ways.
So, how can we recognize Maitreya when we see him on TV?
Well, there are 3 ways that you will know it's him for sure. And I'll tell you now so that when it happens, you'll know. When he appears on television and radio worldwide and starts to talk, whatever time of day it is, tune in. If you hear about a big worldwide press conference coming, please tune in and do yourself a favor so you'll see it. The first thing he will do is he will send out the love of God in so powerful we've never ever felt it before. There'll be a lot of people crying. I'll probably be one of them. Trust the love of God in your heart. If you're worried about the Antichrist, you can't do that. Can't do the love of God. That's one way. Another way you'll know it's him is that he will give us in our mind's eye a vision of the future. We will see it. He did this with Benjamin Creme, and Benjamin Creme explained it. But it will be like you're in a big circular glass dome or ball. And on the left side, you'll see the past happening as it happened, live. Benjamin Creme said you'll even smell the smells and so on. You'll see the wars and the, whatever. And then on the other side, on the right-hand side, you'll see the future, exactly as it's going to happen. See, the masters know what's going to happen. They just don't know when, because we have free will and we have to make it happen. So you'll see the future. You'll be able to smell it and sense it and hear it. All the wonderful things about the future, people working together, people full of joy, people just happy, having all their needs met, and so on. You'll see that. That's the second way we'll know it's him. Oh, the third way is when he's done speaking, there will be press reports that there were hundreds of thousands of healings around the world, people being healed while he was speaking. And in those three ways, you'll know that this is Maitreya, the teacher for the age of Aquarius. And then you have free will. You can either follow his suggestions or not. Benjamin Creme said there'd probably be three reactions. His information was about a third of the people will say, this makes all the sense in the world. How can I help? Another third will say, I'm going to wait and see. Got to see if what happens if what he says really happens. The tree is known by its fruit. So eventually they will come around. And the other third will probably do Antichrist, Antichrist, look out, look out. And that'll be the three reactions. But the third that wants to help is a big enough critical mass to start the positive changes on the planet, which is what we're here to do. See, we're so privileged to be here right now and we have a responsibility. We are here to help start turning this planet around, life on this planet around, and following God's will and God's path. My parents were here, and that generation was here to save the world from Hitler and Mussolini and a couple of Japanese generals in World War II. I mean, they were the right generation for the right job. Those guys couldn't wait to get into the military, even though they knew they might very well be killed. They couldn't wait to stop them. And they saved the world. They did their job. Well, we're here to do this. We're here to start turning the planet around, start saving it from pollution, start feeding everybody, making sure everybody has health care, and so on. That's why we're here. We're the right people at the right time, even if we don't know it. We are, because the masters know it. And so that's our job. Now, it brings a great responsibility with it, but you don't have to do anything if you don't want to. You can just coast through life, and do nothing about it. It's okay. The masters understand because they were us. So that's why we're here. We're here to start the ball rolling toward a much greater, wonderful society on this planet. I mean, it's going to be, from everything I've heard from Benjamin Creme and the masters, it's just so dazzling we can't imagine how happy and wonderful and healthy everything else. Yeah.
It sounds like we are ready for a big transformation. So, what are some things that we can do to help? I know you've gone over a few things.
Yeah. Well, try to be open-minded about some of the changes that are needed. We don't have all the answers right away, but my information is there are people behind the scenes working on the changes that need to be made in finance, government, politics, education, healthcare. They're working on the plans. They just, if they introduce those plans now, nobody will respond to it. We need the guidance and the inspiration of the masters to make it happen. So they will hold on to those plans until the masters come forward. So, like I said, this I didn't say, but I'll say it now. My best guess, now, this is not official from Share International. This is from Dick Larson. My best guess is that we'll see Maitreya within the next 2 or 3 years. This is very soon. I mean, this is going to happen if you're healthy at all. This is going to happen in your lifetime. And that's why you're here. And then you'll come back in the next lifetime and you'll know who Maitreya is. He'll be familiar to you. And the other masters will be familiar to you. Jesus and so on will be familiar to you. And so every time we come back, the masters and Maitreya will be here working with us to help us create this incredibly spiritual, loving, holy society. The biggest thing Maitreya says about ending war, he says there's one thing you haven't tried, and that is sharing the produce of the world. And he said, and that's the answer. Because once everybody has their needs met, there won't be a need for fighting anymore. There won't be a need to take the property of somebody else anymore. It will create, here's what happens. When everybody has their needs met, it creates justice. Justice creates trust. Trust creates peace. And that's how we're going to get peace on this planet, is by sharing the goods of the world. How's that going to happen? The United Nations is going to, according to the masters and with the guidance of the masters, they will they will start a new section of the United Nations. That group will take an inventory of every country's production. What do they produce? Zinc, oranges, whatever it is. They'll also take an inventory of every country's needs. And then there will be a huge barter system, international barter system, where countries will trade their overproduction, instead of holding on to it, trade it with a country to get back what they need and what they don't have. So in that way, by sharing the resources of the world, they're here for everybody. They're not just here for the wealthy or for the people that can afford them. The produce of the world is here for everybody, whether it's a mineral or a food product. And so by sharing the resources of the world, it will create trust and peace. And that's what's coming. I mean, so part of our job is to stay open-minded to the possibilities and maybe volunteer to do some of this stuff when the suggestions are made. But you won't have to do anything, like I said. So we can do that. You can learn to meditate. You can just practice at it. You know, I'm not a very good meditator. I've been doing it for over 30 years, and I'm still not very good. My body is just not that sensitive to energy, Marianne. My body's kind of like a brick. So the energy just kind of sits there, and I have friends that are so sensitive to energy. They can feel every little change in the energy. I don't. I feel a little bit of vibration in my head, and that's about it when I meditate. So you do it to serve the world. How do you serve the world? By learning and growing. We become the caretakers. We are the caretakers of the world. You know, we're responsible for all the kingdoms below us, the animal kingdom, the plant kingdom, the mineral kingdom, and we're killing them. And so we're responsible for all the kingdoms below us. We're the go-between between those kingdoms and the spiritual kingdom. We're the middle point. That's why we're so important, because we're both spiritual and physical. And then when we die, our soul, after about 3 days, it takes about 3 days. That's why people usually aren't buried for 3 days or whatever. And then the soul leaves the body. It remembers where we left off in our growth of consciousness, in our evolution. And then the soul, through the guidance of the masters, say, you know, that these are going to be the purposes of your next lifetime. It might be good to be born in this country to this couple over here. And so she becomes pregnant, and about 3 months, our soul attaches to the fetus, and we're ready for another lifetime. Now, here's the good news. Since the soul remembers where we were in our consciousness and in our evolution, we pick up right where we left off in the last lifetime. Now, that's good news. And one of the things I used to do, I used to run an alcohol and drug rehab in Pasadena, California. And I used to tell my patients, this is one of the reasons you don't ever want to relapse, because once you solve a problem in your life, you've solved it. You never have to face that problem again in your next lifetime or the lifetime after that or after that. Once you solve a problem, it's done. You're done with it. So that's how it'll work. We'll pick up right where we left off. Any problems that we dealt with and that we solved in our previous lifetime will never come back to us. We'll have bigger and better problems.
Different challenges and to approach. Well, earlier in the discussion, you mentioned that there were some books that could be downloaded. Can you share those with us?
Of course. I'll share a couple websites. The website you can go to for more information about the Ageless Wisdom, more information about Maitreya and the Masters, more information about Benjamin Creme, and about meditation and so on, is share, SHARE, International, all spelled out, no hyphens, no dots, just Share International, and then SoCal, SOCAL, that stands for Southern California. ShareInternationalSoCal.org, not .com, .org. We are a nonprofit education organization. And you can go into there and, man, you're going to see all kinds of good stuff in there that you can wander around. And you can also click through to the main international website run out of London for Share International. Well, there are 4 books of Benjamin Creme that you can get free of charge. Go to www.share, S-H-A-R-E, hyphen, that's a dash, ecart, ECART.com. Share-ecart.com. You'll see all of Benjamin Creme's books there, and you'll see 4 really, really interesting books that you can very easy to read, that you can download free of charge. They're about consciousness. They're about life on the planet, about how you can improve your life and the lives of others, and so on. So, the good news is that this is as bad as it's ever going to get. It's going to get better, and it's going to get better very, very quickly. Once the cart turns, it's going to happen very, very quickly. So hang in there. That's why we're here. We're here because we can hang in there through these changes, and we can help create a new life on this planet. This planet is where heaven on earth is going to be created, and we're going to start that process. And I'm not kidding. Now, don't believe me, like I said, but just consider it whether it's possible or not. Think about praying every day. Think about doing a little 15-minute meditation. And think about ways to serve. People used to come up to Benjamin Creme and say, can you ask the master, how am I meant to serve? What should I do? And Benjamin Creme always said, I don't have to ask the master, just pick something. There's millions of ways to serve people on this planet. And just pick a couple. Maybe it's donating to one of your favorite charities. Maybe it's volunteering for one of your favorite charities. Maybe it's walking across the street and picking up a piece of scrap paper off the street and throwing it in the nearest trash bin. That's service to the world. So maybe it's getting a car that doesn't pollute as much, or whatever. There's so many ways to serve. Some people, their profession is serving: teachers, nurses, doctors, all these healthcare workers. In the future, all the healthcare that's considered non-standard, like homeopathic remedies and chiropractors and so on, all of those are going to be combined together with standard medicine. And it will all be part of the medical field together. They'll all be recognized as contributing. Healing through colors, healing through sounds, all of that will count. Yeah, so just find ways to serve.
Well, Dick, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
Thanks for having me on, Marianne. It's been a real pleasure.
Well, we're at the end of our time today. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in. You're listening to Moments with Marianne, where we make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.